Welcome to Learn Computer Technology. Learning Outcomes. Creation and Understanding of Azure Resource Group. Creation and Understanding of Azure Virtual Machine. Working Experience with Azure CLI. Creation and Understanding of Azure Service Principal. Working Experience with Docker CE. Working Experience with gitbash Terminal in Microsoft Windows 10. Working Experience with Microsoft Visual Studio 2019. Creation and Understanding of Azure Container Registry. Creation and Understanding of Azure Container Instance. What is a resource group? A resource group is a container that holds related resources of an Azure cloud. The resource group can include those resources that you want to manage as a group. It is resource creator's decision how he wants to allocate resources to resource groups. Generally, it is good to add resources that share the same lifecycle to the same resource group so you can easily deploy, update, and delete them as a group. The resource group stores metadata about the resources. Therefore, specifying a location for the resource group, we are specifying where that metadata is stored. For compliance reasons, we may need to ensure that data is stored in a particular region. Steps to create resource groups. Sign in to the Azure portal. Select resource groups. Select Create. Enter the following values. Subscription. Select your Azure subscription. Resource group. Enter a new resource group name Learning Docker. Region. Select an Azure location, such as East US. Select Review plus Create. Select Create. It takes a few seconds to create a resource group. Select Refresh from the top menu to refresh the resource group list, and then select the newly created resource group to open it. Or select Notification, the bell icon, from the top, and then select Go to Resource Group to open the newly created resource group. How to create an Ubuntu virtual machine in Azure portal. Azure Virtual Machines, VMs, can be created through the Azure portal. This method provides a browser-based user interface to create VMs and their associated resources. This quick start shows how to use the Azure portal to deploy a virtual machine, VM, in Azure that runs Ubuntu Server 20.04 LTS Gen 2. To see your VM in action, you can use SSH login to the VM using gitbash, then update the virtual machine and install Azure CLI. Type free in search box. Select Free Services. Select Linux Virtual Machine, then click Create. Create a virtual machine page opens. In the Basics tab, under Project Details, make sure the correct subscription is selected and then choose to resource group we created earlier, or you can create new resource group if you wish. Select Learning Docker from drop-down. Under Instance Details, type Docker machine for the virtual machine name and choose Region, East US. Security type, Standard. Image. Click See all images. Then select Ubuntu Server 20.04 LTS, Gen 2 for the image. Leave the other defaults. Under Administrator Account, provide a username, such as Azure User, and a password, and confirm password. Notes: the password must be at least 12 characters long and meet the defined complexity requirements. Under Inbound Port Rules, choose Allow selected ports and then select SSH 22 and HTTP 80 from the drop-down. Leave the remaining defaults and then select the Review plus Create button at the bottom of the page. After validation runs, select the Create button at the bottom of the page. After deployment is complete, select Go to Resource. How to connect to virtual machine. Create a remote, SSH, connection to the virtual machine. These directions tell you how to connect to your VM from a Windows computer. On the overview page for your virtual machine, copy public IP. Open your local gitbash. Then type command SSH Azure user at public IP. In our case it is 52.249.188.70, and press enter. It will ask for ED25519 fingerprint key. Type yes. Then enter password created during creation of virtual machine. This will not display anything on screen, so enter it carefully. Now you logged in to your virtual machine. You can verify it from Azure portal. Type command sudo apt-update to update repository list. How to install Azure CLI. Refer Azure CLI installation video link, given in description, and click on I button on top right corner. Here in short, to install Azure CLI in your Ubuntu VM in Azure Cloud, use below bash command to install it. How to create Azure Service Principal and what is its importance. An Azure Service Principal is an identity created for use with applications, hosted services, and automated tools to access Azure resources. This access is restricted by the roles assigned to the Service Principal, giving you control over which resources can be accessed and at which level. What is Service Principal used for? A Service Principal is created in each tenant where the application is used and references the globally unique app object. The Service Principal object defines what the app can actually do in the specific tenant, who can access the app, and what resources the app can access. Let us create Azure Service Principal, SPN, with role-based access control, RBAC, through Azure Bash terminal. This is the simple command for creation of service principal. AZ/AD/SP, create -for-RBAC-N, my SPN. If you run above command, the SPN have now contributor role over your subscription. This can be verified by checking your Azure subscription from portal, under access control, IAM, role assignments. But our target is not to give that much permission to this service principal, so we use this command with in other way as below. To reduce your risk of a compromised service principal, use --skip-assignment to avoid creating a role assignment, then assign a more specific role and narrow the scope to a resource or resource group. Let's first create the MySPN with no assignments and no roles. AZADSP create -for-RBAC-N double quotes MySPN double quotes --skip assignment. Later we'll need the SPN credentials. To make it easier to get these, we'll use environment variables. SPN equals $AZADSP create -for-RBAC-N, MySPN, --skip assignment -OJSON. Then let's display the credentials using JQ-tool, which is already installed in Azure Cloud Shell, to display the SPN and to extract some specific fields like app-id. Echo $SPN pipeline JQ echo $SPN pipeline JQ pipeline R single quotes .app ID single quotes. We can assign roles to the service principal either using the Azure portal or using the Azure CLI. The first solution is, from the Azure portal, you can navigate to your resource group, then access control, IAM, role assignments, and then you can assign a role, like reader, to your SPN. The second solution is, using command line. As we have already created a resource group as learning Docker with interface, we will assign that scope equals /subscription/ your subscription ID / resource group name . Then we use the resource group to assign role contributor for the SPN. A Z role assignment create -role contributor /-- echo $SPN pipeline JQ-R single quotes .app-id single quotes / -scope. Now you can check the access control, IAM, in your resource group from Azure portal. Note that you can also create a service principal with role contributor and assign the role to multiple resources like 2 resource groups at once. AZADSP create -for-RBAC-N double quotes MySPN double quotes -- role contributor -- scopes, subscriptions, subscription ID, resource groups, resource group 1, subscriptions, subscription ID, resource groups, resource group 2. Note that also you can use the parameter -- years as number of years for which the credentials will be valid. Default value is 1 year if you don't give values. Azure users typically uses their identity, email and password, to connect to Azure. But machines, like DevOps build agents, will use the SPN login to Azure using SPN, AZ login -service -principal -username $echo $SPN pipeline JQ-R single quotes .app-id single quotes -password echo $SPN pipeline JQ-R single quotes .password single quotes -tenant echo $SPN pipeline JQ-R single quotes .tenant single quotes Log in from virtual machine in Azure to Azure Cloud. Using Azure Service principle. Steps to log in. Open your git bash and paste command as below syntax. Az login --service principal username app id password of app id tenant ID of your subscription. Now if we try to get the resource groups, we'll see only the one with SPN assigned. Use below command. Az group list -o table. Let's open Visual Studio 2019. Select Create New Project. Search ASP.NET Core Web Application. Click Next. Give project name Web App Project. Location Desktop. Check. Place solution and project in the same directory. Click Next. Select Target Framework, .NET Core, 3.1 LTS. Authentication type, None. Uncheck. Configure HTTPS. Device, OS Linux. Click Create. ASP.NET project, with name, Web App Project will be created, and loaded in the screen. Let us modify the default welcome text to ASP.NET Web Application. Let us check project's running status, by clicking, IIS Express, button. Now, it is confirmed that our project is running locally on browser at port number 7591. Click Close to close the running project. Let us open Windows PowerShell. Run command ls to list the directory. Navigate to project folder by command cd web app project. Then, run command .NET publish to publish the project. Navigate to publish folder in desktop web app project. Create Docker file and paste the code. Update virtual machine with command sudo apt-update and sudo apt-upgrade, then press Y. Now Azure Virtual Machine with Ubuntu operating system has been upgraded. Clear screen. Let's install Docker with commands. Follow the screen. You can find the Docker installation code in description, or you can also look the video of Docker installation in Ubuntu in our previous video. Open WinSCP and connect it to Azure Virtual Machine, then upload the publish folder of Web App Project, then rename it to Web App Project. Navigate to uploaded folder, using command cd web app project. Let's build the Docker image, using command sudo docker build -t web app project then press enter. Docker image building is in progress. We can list build ed Docker image using command sudo docker images or sudo docker image ls. What is Azure Container Registry? Azure Container Registry is a private registry service for building, storing, and managing container images. In this quick start, we are creating an Azure Container Registry instance with the Azure portal. Then, use Docker commands to push a container image into the registry, and finally pull and run the image from our registry. What is the use of Azure Container Registry? Azure Container Registry allows us to build, store, and manage container images and artifacts in a private registry for all types of container deployments. Steps to create a container registry. Search free, then click free services. Navigate to container registry. Then click create. In the Basics tab, Subscription, Azure Cloud's Home, pre-filled. Resource Group, Learning Docker. Registry Name, Learn Computer Tech. The registry name must be unique within Azure, and contain 5 to 50 alphanumeric characters. Location, Central India. SKU, Standard. Accept default values for the remaining settings. Then, select Review plus Create. After reviewing the settings, select Create. When the deployment succeeded message appears, select the container registry in the portal. Take note of the registry name and the value of the login server, which is a fully qualified name ending with azure.cr.io in the Azure cloud. Steps to push image to registry. To push an image to an Azure Container Registry, we have the Image Web App project in Azure Virtual Machine. Before pushing and pulling container images, we must log in to the registry instance. Sign into the Azure CLI on our virtual machine, then run the ACR login command. Specify only the registry resource name when logging in with the Azure CLI. Don't use the fully qualified login server name. ACR login name learn computer tech. User service principal to log in. Username. Service principal app ID. Password. Service principal password. This doesn't show pasted password, so paste and press enter. You will be login. Before we push an image to our registry, we must tag it with the fully qualified name of our registry login server. We will tag the image using the docker tag command. Sudo docker tag web app project learn computertech.azurecr.io/web app project. Finally, we use docker push to push the image to the registry instance. Sudo docker push learn computertech.azurecr.io/web app project. List container images. To list the images in your registry, navigate to your registry in the portal and select Repositories, then select the Web App Project repository we created with Docker Push. By selecting the Web App Project repository, we see the latest image under tags. What are Azure Container Instances? Azure Container Instances is a service that enables a developer to deploy containers on the Microsoft Azure public cloud, without having to provision or manage any underlying infrastructure. A container is a ready-made software environment that has the application code and its dependencies preloaded within an image. The container engine allows each application, container, to run on top of the host operating system but remain isolated from each other. What is the use of Azure Container Instance? Azure Container Instances is a solution for any scenario that can operate in isolated containers, without orchestration. Steps to create a container instance. Search Container Instance, then click Container Instance. Navigate to Container Instance. Then click Create. On the Basics page, enter the following values in the resource group, container name, and container image text boxes. Leave the other values at their defaults, then select OK. Subscription. Azure Cloud Home, pre-filled. Resource group. Learning Docker. Container name. Learn Compute. Region. Central India. Image source. Azure Container Registry. Registry. Learn Computer Tech. Container image. Web App Project. Image tag. Latest. OS type. Linux. Size. Default. On the networking page, specify a DNS name label for your container. DNS name label. Learn Compute 1. Port. Delete port 80 and add port 5000, because our Docker image using port 5000. Leave the other settings at their defaults. Then, select Review plus Create. When the validation completes, you're shown a summary of the container settings. Select Create to submit your container deployment request. When deployment starts, a notification appears to indicate the deployment is in progress. Open the overview for the container group by clicking Go to Resource. Copy public IP of the container instance, paste it to browser with port 5000. Our web app project is opening. This can also be browsed with containers fqdn in your browser. Copy the public URL of running container and paste it to browser with port 5000. Our web app project is opening. Congratulations! By configuring just a few settings, we've deployed a publicly accessible application in Azure Container Instances. Hope you have learned and understand the topic. Please like, share, subscribe and express your views in comment for our motivation. Thanks for watching.